Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, Prox to Smart, Creating a Transitional Credential Strategy. Today we have with us Diane Kellenbeck of Identiv. Diane has been with Identiv as a Western Regional Sales Manager of Credentials since February of this year. Prior to that, she was with Allegion for 7 years as the Director of Technology Alliances, responsible for building a global ecosystem of third-party developers to enhance value of technology platforms, provide additional revenue opportunities for channel partners, and build suited solutions for end users. Prior to Allegion, Diane has been with HID for a total of over 10 years, where she had multiple roles in program management, marketing, sales, and account management. She started this industry with a local systems integrator in California. With nearly 19 years of sales, marketing, and strategic partnership experience in the physical security industry, she can help PSA members to drive strategic growth, increase their value, and enhance customer experience. While the growth of 13.56 megahertz smart card technology credentials are outpacing the 125 gigahertz proximity credentials, the number of proximity credentials in the market far exceeds any other RFID technology. What customers may not realize is that their proximity credentials could be a security risk. In today's webinar, you will discover how you can help your customers with a strategy to migrate their readers and credentials to more secure technology that puts them in the driver's seat. My name is Julie Rolls, and I am the training manager here at PSA. I will be moderating today's call. I have just a few quick housekeeping items before I hand it over to Diane. First, if you've not already done so, please mute yourself. If you happen to have any questions throughout the course of this presentation, please type them into the chat panel, and we will have time for Q&A at the end of this presentation. I will also be monitoring the chat if you should run into any technical difficulties, and I will do my best to get you back up and running. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Diane Kellenbeck. Diane?
Thank you, Julie. Good morning, everyone. Maybe good afternoon for some of you. Thank you for joining today. As Julie mentioned, we're going to be talking about how to help customers create a transition strategy from proximity technology to smart card technology. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of Identiv, just so you know who we are. A quick overview of credential technologies, and then we'll dive into some of the migration and opportunity strategies. I also want to talk about, why we should be having conversations with customers about credentials and making sure that we include that. And then we'll do an overview of our Identiv's credential portfolio, as well as Identiv. So with that, just a quick overview of Identiv. We are a global provider of physical security as well as secure identification. So our portfolio of offerings include physical access control, readers and credentials that are also used for physical access control, as well as other applications, smart card readers that are used for logical access. We have a huge portfolio of transponders that can be used for both tracking and authenticating things. It could be anything. It could be inventory. It could be medical equipment, whatever it is. We've got all different kinds of transponders for tracking and authenticating. And then we also have an offering for video and data analytics. So just quickly, a few of our brands, if you will. Hirsch, which is our physical access control solution. If you've been in the industry for a while, you're probably familiar with that name. Also Freedom, Liberty, and Enterphone, which is also access control systems, but they're more IP-based. 3VR, which is our video management system, and then Thursby, which is used for mobile authentication. So we'll get into credential technologies. I just want to do a quick overview just to kind of set the stage here for our discussion about migrating. So for credential technologies, MagStripe, we're all familiar with MagStripe technology. It's been around for a long time. We've carried credit cards with MagStripe, still used in the university space, although, we are seeing some migration there for other types of technology. Low cost, but also very low security. Weekend, which is a legacy credential technology, we don't really see credentials that much anymore, but I just wanted to mention that because we do see some of we still use Weekend in terms of a communication protocol, as well as we still use that formatting, if you will, for card programming. Proximity technology, which is 125 kilohertz, very prevalent out in the market. And then as far as contactless or 13.56 megahertz technologies or credentials, that includes MIFARE Classic, MIFARE DESFire ED1 and 2, the I-Class family of products, as well as Legic, but although that's mainly used in Europe, and then Felica, which is mainly in Asia. And then there's also contact smart cards, and those are very high security cards that use a contact smart chip, and that's used mainly for logical access, although we do see some convergence for both physical and logical access. So when we take those technologies and we kind of compare price with security, MagStripe is low on the security, but it's also a very inexpensive technology. We move up to 125 kilohertz, which is also low in cost, but it is easily duplicated. And I think, a lot of customers don't realize that the proximity cards that they're carrying around can be very easily duplicated. In fact, and I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard that at Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond, they have reader writers there now where you can take your Prox card and you can have it copied. Much in the same way that you would take a mechanical key to, have it copied. You can do that now at public places to have your Prox card duplicated. Then we move up to 13.56, which includes MIFARE, DESFire ED1, I-Class family again, and the MIFARE Classic. And although traditionally this technology has been more expensive than Prox, we're definitely seeing that, that price gap narrow. What really impacts the price of smart card technology typically is the amount of memory that you have on the card. So, the more memory that you have on your card, the more expensive it's going to be. And then we move to contact smart cards. Again, this is going to be more expensive, but it's also high security. So I wanted to just kind of compare differences, and for this discussion today, mainly focusing on when we were talking about 13.56, MIFARE Classic and DESFire ED1 and ED2. And the reason I say ED2 is because their ED2 is now available, and so you're going to start seeing a migration from ED1 to ED2. So when we compare, Prox technology to MIFARE Classic and DESFire ED1, there is data encryption with 13.56, but you're not going to find that with proximity technology. And really what that means is just that the data that's communicated between the card and the reader is encrypted, or it's scrambled. There are diversified keys with just even keys in general with 13.56, but not with proximity technology. And with diversified keys, what that means is that the digital key that's created to lock down the application or the written information to the card is diversified. And that means that if one card is compromised, the entire population of card isn't compromised, or the entire population of cards is not compromised, excuse me. Mutual authentication occurs with MIFARE Classic and DESFire ED1 and 2, and that just means that there's two-way communication between the card and the reader. From a user experience, they're really not going to see a lot of difference between 125 kilohertz and 13.56. It's basically the same. Read range can be a little bit less with 13.56 than 125 kilohertz, but for the most part, the user experience is the same. You do have the ability to add data or memory with 13.56, and you don't with 125 kilohertz. With MIFARE Classic, it's fixed, so if you just think, every memory size is exactly the same, where with DESFire ED1 and 2, it can be divvied up a little bit differently. So if you think about cutting a slice of pie, the slices can be cut up a little bit differently. And then with price, again, I mentioned this before, Prox is typically less expensive, but we are seeing that price gap narrow between 13.56 and proximity technology. So what's really sold in the US, in 2018, there was over 1 billion units of credentials sold throughout the world. In the US, 125 kilohertz is still really strong, but its growth is actually slowing. And high frequency is growing about 2 times faster now than Prox technology. That includes a combination of all the 13.56 technologies, DESFire EV1 and 2 Classic, but about 95% of that technology includes iClass and MIFARE. So the reason I bring this up is there's still a ton of Prox technology in the marketplace, which really provides a great opportunity for migrating those customers from Prox technology to high frequency credentials. So now we'll dig into what some of those opportunity strategies look like. So if you have a customer that is starting from scratch or just going to replace everything, we would call that a new or greenfield opportunity. You're always going to want to recommend 13.56, and I would say DESFire EV1 or 2. You want to understand use cases and target applications. So have that discussion with a customer about, are you going to use your card for just proximity technology, or are you going to looking to use your card for other applications as well? Things like time and attendance or point of sale. That's going to help determine what the memory size is going to be, or what the requirement's going to be for that card. And even if they're not thinking about adding other applications now, if they are thinking maybe somewhere down the road, it's good to have that discussion so that you can recommend a card that's going to be, have enough memory for them down the road as well. And then it also, you want to have that discussion about how they're going to use their card so you can determine if you need to have other technologies included on that card. Do you need to have a contact chip if you're going to use it for logical access, UHF for more long-range types of applications? So again, just having that discussion, understanding use cases and applications is going to help guide them in the right direction in terms of what type of card to use. With smart card technology, there are keys involved. So you're actually, that's the security benefit of using 13.6 is that you actually lock the application or data with a key. And we recommend that using custom keys. So what that means is that the customer owns the key, will create a custom key for them. And so they own the key instead of it being a manufacturer key. And that gives them a lot more options down the road from who they can buy the card from. It really puts them in the driver's seat. They don't have to always go to the same manufacturer to get that credential. We also recommend what we call our Next Step program. Some of you may be familiar with it, Corporate 1000. There's other companies that offer these type of programs, but ours is called Next Step program. And what that does is we keep track of the card numbering sequence for the customer. So that means you don't have to remember, the next sequence of numbers, and the customer doesn't have to remember that. We kind of do the legwork there. So that makes things easier. It also avoids duplication. And then we offer a card service bureau, and what that is we do the card personalization for the customer. So where this may be beneficial is if you've got a customer, maybe a university, and they're doing a large deployment of credentials all at the same time. They're on a tight time frame, and they maybe don't have enough resources, and or you may have there may be a small or medium-sized business that doesn't want to invest in the printers and all the supplies that go with that. We can actually help with card personalization, and we do that out of our offices in Santa Ana, California, and we quote that on a case-by-case basis. But just so you know, that's an option. So if you do have an opportunity where they do have a deployment of credentials, again, you're going to want to understand what the product environment is, what system are they using, what readers are they using, what credentials are they using. You're also going to want to know how the cards are programmed. Sometimes the customer knows that, sometimes they don't. What we say is just get a picture of the label at the end of the box, and that usually can tell us the information that we need to know. And if they don't have even that, sometimes they just throw the box away. You can always send cards into our facility, and we will do an evaluation of how those cards are programmed. So if they're using proximity technology, it's an opportunity to hopefully have a discussion with them about migrating from low frequency to high frequency. but you can also get their reader and credential business, even if they're sticking with proximity technology. And if they are thinking about migrating to high frequency, then all those key topics that we talked about for the new or greenfield opportunities, all those things apply. So talking about, the used applications to help determine memory size and other technologies that they may want to have included on their credential. So I just threw in some questions that can help customers and you determine if they are ready to start, migrating their technology. If they want to move to more secure technology, either now or in the future. Are they looking to use a single credential for more than one application? Do they have different facilities and different locations that are using different types of technology? That's a good time to maybe have that discussion as well about migrating. And one of the things that we do offer is a credential that's a dual technology. So it's both low frequency and high frequency, specifically DESFire EV1. And we've tried to price that so that it's very competitive with a Prox credential, so that it makes it easier for customers to start migrating their credentials to high frequency. So there's a couple of different options for migrating from low frequency to high frequency. They can either start with migrating their Prox credentials to multi-technology credentials, and then eventually they can replace their readers to 13.56. Again, customers don't always have the budgets to do everything at once. If they can, it's great, but if not, this is just kind of a few different ways that they can start migrating to high frequency technology. Multi-technology readers, they could start with that, replacing their Prox readers, and then migrate their Prox credentials to 13.56 smart cards in the future. You may have customers, for whatever reason, that say they need to do a combination of both. I mean, we typically don't recommend that. There can be some challenges with getting a multi-technology reader to work with a multi-technology credential. So just kind of a caution there. And if you do have customers that are in that situation, give us a call. We can kind of help you work through some of that. So why credentials? Again, the reason I'm including this is sometimes we don't want to have that discussion about credentials when we're talking about, an access control system or an entire security system. Sometimes it just seems cards can seem complicated. Maybe we don't know enough or understand enough about credentials. But I just want to encourage you to make sure that you do include credentials as part of your conversation. It can be a great source of revenue, not just with the initial project, but also like all the repeat orders. Customers always need to reorder credentials. If they hire new employees or they have an event or whatever it might be, you're kind of leaving the table if you're not having that discussion, including credentials as part of that discussion. So I just included on here to get some juices flowing in terms of, where to look and who to call on. These are all places that, are likely going to have some sort of an access control system and are going to need to use credentials. So if you think about government, healthcare, higher education, K through 12, commercial real estate, whatever it happens to be. And this deck will be available to you. So, you can always go back and reference these. We've done some projects in the hospitality space. I will admit it's a very competitive area, but the opportunity for credentials in this space is huge. In fact, we've got one customer that's going to do over 2.2 million credentials in 2019. So just don't rule them out. I know it is competitive, but think about potential opportunity down the road. And then here's just, some more places to think about, call on, grocery store lines, fitness centers, utilities, all these different places that are opportunities for not just physical access control, but also credentials. So just a quick overview of Identive's credential offering. We have everything from Prox. We can do MIFARE Classic, MIFARE DESFire EV1. We've got our TS cards, which is a multi-technology card and or just high frequency EV1, DESFire EV1. And then we also have contact smart cards that can be used for higher security applications, things like logical access. Some of the different form factors, besides the traditional clam shells and PVC composite type of cards, key fobs, we also offer different types of wristbands. So we can do silicone wristbands. They come in different colors. We can do custom artwork. You can do woven wristbands, paper wristbands, and where we're seeing wristbands being used is at, resorts. Sometimes in hospitals, they're having doctors wear wristbands so that they can, just for convenience, they have it on their wrist. So there's events, concerts, sporting events where you can wear a wristband rather than having, a traditional card for those types of things. So just want to make you aware, especially about the wristbands. I also want to mention UHF technology. This is more of a long range technology, but it is passive. So where you see UHF being used is for tracking, again, inventory, or it can be used for logistics. But in physical access control, it can be used for longer range. So if you've got a parking application where they want more than a few inches that you're going to get from Prox or smart card technology, you could use UHF. And the great thing about it is passive, so you don't have the added cost or limited life because of a battery. Read range does depend. It can be 12 to 18 feet, but it depends on the antenna that's being used for the reader. And then I also just wanted to mention that UHF is tuned a little bit differently for different regions on the globe. So if you do have an application for UHF outside of the US, just be aware that some of that frequency can vary just a little bit. So I mentioned before our TS cards. These are our cards that, again, we've tried to make very affordable to help customers transition from Prox to smart card technology. They do come in two versions. One is high frequency only, and then we also have both EV1 and 125 kilohertz. So, we make this available to help customers affordably transition from Prox to smart card technology. And this is where we can support that VIP program for custom keys. So just a quick overview on Identiv. We have over 40 different bit formats. I think that's kind of our claim to fame, if you will, is we support lots of different bit formats. We also have both the, the contact smart chips that can be used for converged access. I talked about the TS cards. And I think one thing is that if you have a customer that has a very specific requirement and it's not something that you see as a standard product, just let us know. We'll work with you to see if we can come up with a solution to help meet those requirements. And so, again, we've been in the industry for over 37 years. We try to price our cards very competitively. If you've got an order for 1,000 cards or less, we can typically get those shipped out in 48 to 72 hours. Those ship out of our facility in Southern California. We can do free samples. So if you have a customer that wants to, they want to just give our cards a test run, we'll send some sample cards out to them. This also comes in handy if they think they know the bit format and the card programming information, but they're not 100% sure. They can put in a request for some sample cards and we'll ship it out, and they can just confirm that it's going to work on their system. We do have a lifetime warranty. I mentioned before our Next Step program, which is where we keep track of the card numbering sequence. We don't charge anything extra for that. We can do custom printing, and I will say I do think we have a pretty good customer service department. So there's included in here are a bunch of different documents and data sheets. That's just kind of some helpful information for you. So I'm not going to go through all of those. Those will be available if you reference the slide deck that's going to be posted on the PSA website. But I did want to mention and provide for you some information on both my contact information. I cover the western half of the US, and then my colleague Richard Riggy covers the eastern half of the U.S., although, we're both available to help with any, questions or any opportunities that you might have. But feel free to give us a call or reach out to us at any time. So with that, I think we have just a few minutes left for questions.
Yeah, great job, Diane. This is very informative. We did have a couple of questions that rolled in here. The first one is, for the customers that are already using proximity cards, why are they reluctant to move to the smart card technology?
I think for a lot of them, they don't understand that the cards that they're using are very insecure, that they can be easily duplicated, and to them, the user experience just looks exactly the same. So I think having that discussion with them and making them aware of the fact that the cards can be easily duplicated, they just need to be aware of that so that they can, start putting together budgets and whatever else they need to start migrating to more secure technology. Good question.
Yeah, great. So in your experience, do customers really use the cards for more than one application?
So where we see customers using their card for more than one application, typically is in higher education. And in that case, they are writing different applications to the card. So there's a couple different ways that you can use a single card for more than one application. One is to add data and be able to write information to the card. The other is to use that single application, typically the access control application, for other uses, other applications. The challenge with that is, again, there's a key involved, and so they have to get the key from the manufacturer, which most of them aren't willing to do, and that's kind of where having a custom key becomes beneficial, because then the customer owns that key, and if they want to share that key with another manufacturer, say for time and attendance, to be able to load onto their terminals, or POS to load onto their terminals, that's where that custom key really comes in handy.
Very good. All right. This one is, I've had customers get into a proprietary situation with their cards and readers. How can this be avoided but still have the benefits of the high security technology?
Yeah, so again, that kind of goes back to the custom keys, where that helps to put them in the driver's seat, so that, well, first of all, I would say to use a high, a 13.56 smart card technology that isn't proprietary to begin with, and then B would be to use a custom key. So a key that the customer owns and the manufacturer doesn't own, and that will really help give them more options in terms of who they can work with and who they can purchase both cards and readers from, because now they own that key.
Excellent. Well, that does look like all the questions that we had today. If anyone would like to review this presentation again or pass it along, we will have the recorded version of it posted very soon, and you can find it by visiting psaeducation.com. Thank you very much to Diane Kellenbeck of Identiv. Her contact information is here. If you have any more questions for her after today's presentation, please visit our website, that's psaeducation.com, to be sure that you're leveraging all that PSA has to offer. On our education page, you can access our future webinar events, this recording, educational offerings, and business solutions. This will conclude today's presentation. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.